BMW Mini R55, R56 window regulators are renowned for going squeaky, getting stuck. So mine has been squeaking for a while, and the other day it actually failed on me and got stuck about halfway down. So I stripped it down before, I've greased the tracks, I've greased it, but I don't trust it anymore. So I'm actually going to dig in now, I'm going to replace the entire regulator. I'll nip forward to future Kim, and he'll explain some tooling, but it's a job that anybody can do. I believe in you, keep going.
Hey, it's Future Kim. So I've got ahead of me here the tools that you're going to need for this job. So these are the desirables, and you probably need most of these to do it. So I've got some really hard, solid trim removals, and this one's got a trim clip removal as well on the top. So I've used both of those. I've used one 10mm socket for one bolt. I've got a T25, I've used that quite a bit, and I've got a T30. T30 is for the majority of the bolts on this job. I've got a short extension, a long extension. I've actually used both of those during this, and a ratchet handle. I used my wizard drill, 3/8 wizard drill, to put all the bolts back in, and then tweaked them up with this later on. I've used a magnet for retrieving a bolt out the door card when I undid the windows from their track. When I undid the glass from the track, I dropped the bolt, so I've used that to retrieve it. A marker pen for marking your old regulator before putting the new one on. It makes it so much easier. I've not even thought about it until now, but yeah, it seems to work absolutely perfectly, no issues. A screwdriver for undoing the weather seal. You'll use that to eke it out of the old aluminium. A pair of clippers for undoing your cable tie on your new regulator, and some grease of whatever choice you choose. I've used silicone grease because it's basically out in the weather. In theory, inside of the door is weathered. A Stanley knife, decent pair of gloves, and a tub to put all your bolts in. Don't forget, we've got a nice flat workspace for doing it inside as well. Once it's off the door, get it somewhere flat, get it somewhere really easily accessible, and it should make the job 10 times easier. This job might take you an hour, it might take you an hour and a half, but I'll trim this video down dramatically. Dramatic? I don't know if I just made up a new word. I'll put myself off. So watch this first, get the hints and tips. Feel free to pause at any point during it, and then just come back to it and enjoy.
So the door card actually comes away in a couple of pieces. This handrail here quite easily just pops off. I'll take this and put it somewhere safe. And this just reveals one bolt here. No, we don't need that one. One bolt there, that's it. And then the rest of it, it comes off like a big U shape here. So we'll take that off as well after removing this clip and disconnecting this switch. It's like a push out stud on the bottom there. You can take it off beforehand. You just need the push out stud to be released when you come to put it back on. But as you can see, you can take it off beforehand. Just be aware that that bit is there. It's hard to see on the back of this switch, but there are two tiny little plugs, a little white one and a little black one. You might want to get something in here such as a small screwdriver or your trim clip removal tool, just to assist it coming out. Yep. With these bits removed, and the handle removed, we're going to try and take the door card away so it is on push clips, and it should just pop off. And disconnect your floor light from inside the door card. With the door card removed, we're going to set about undoing all these. So there's 11 of them spread around, and they are a T30. But before we do that, doing this job, the glass has got to come out. So you've got bungs here, pop the bungs off, one at the front, pop the bung off, and then bring your window down to a point where you can see the attachment bolts, which are again another T30. They are going through glass, so be careful undoing and tightening these up later. I'll tell you that now. So yeah, I'm going to set about doing that. So you can use a magnet to retrieve these bolts here. They come out looking something like this. They're a shouldered bolt with a bit of red paint on them. So yeah, 1 and 2, use a magnet to retrieve. And the final one, so this is number 11. You have this weather strip which comes up, covers the corners here, covers the front corner here, and it is actually an individual piece, single piece all the way across the top here. We'll take it out of the aluminium shortly. So you've got a couple of studs you want to pull the rubber out the corner, bring the little stud out with it. If it doesn't, you can pop it back in later. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, so that one hasn't come out, but we can get it out the door in a second. And that reveals 1, 2, 3, and that plate will come off. Remember to put that plate back on shortly as well. And the same again up the front. Got a couple of studs in here. And you've got a much more rigid one on the front, which is this portion here. 2 more T30s, and then a 10mm here with a locating washer. We've got a 10mm nut. Oh, that's gone. A little locating washer, and that little bump. It just sits in a groove here and holds the height correct of the aluminium bit. I can't actually see with the amount of the other bolts that are there that it does much, but someone's designed it that way. What we need to do now is get the glass out and put the glass somewhere nice and safe, because we're not going to need that back until the actual door card's back in again. So I'm going to take that somewhere safe. It literally just slides out the top. Like so. So we've got a small amount of wiring to undo. You've got the window motor itself, and then you've got the loom connection here. This loom connector is actually attached to the door card. Mine is not. What we've got here is we've got a little bar on the bottom, a little push tab, and then this bar here, simply, if you can see on the camera, just slides over, and then these two are separated really easily. Don't break it. Then this is just your standard push connector. Push the button in, and if you push the button in and push down while you undo it, it comes off dead easily. Then we can move them out of the way. So that's separate to the door card, and this bit's staying on the door. Oh, and we've got a speaker as well, under your speaker. Nice and simple. Now this should just slide out, and I'll go and put it on the bench to do the rest in there. It should just lift out. When lifting the door card out, on the back of your release handle, you've got this bit plastic bit here, and this cable runs down to your external door handle. You want to pop this off. You pop it off from the back. You've got like a little T handle in here. You might want to relax it. There we go. You can see that. You want to relax it when you come to put it back on, and it simply sits over this little foot in here. Just like 2 little hooks where it hooks into. But I'll get onto that later. And this cable here goes behind everything on your door card. So thread it out as we take the door card off now. With the door panel and window regulator removed, we're going to set about putting some marks on it. So on here, we can see where the old bolts go in. And we can put a mark on here to transfer that when we put the new regulator in. And that'll be the same over on this side here. Pretty standard. I've now got a turkey in here helping me out. So with these 2 bolts marked up, I'm going to set about undoing these. Got a couple of torques across the top here. Release these clips, and hopefully this should just lift off. We do have the motor on the back, motor on this side, and then we'll release this carrier here. So he's flipped over. We're going to loosen this motor off. We've got 3
T25s. And if you do hear any random noises going on in the background, I have a turkey stood about 3 inches from my legs. Just hoping he doesn't decide to peck me. Pop into one side. Two T30s here, which we've marked. Make sure you mark them. So we've undone the 3 T25s across the back, 2 T30s here. Just going to go around and release the cables. This should all come free. This side of the regulator is held in with 2 clips here, and then it pushes under the plastic portion here. So you can generally get your fingers down into these 2 spring clips here, and then it will just lift out. So that's all nice and free. And we want to separate it all. My gloves for this is horrible. Absolutely typical that it didn't play. When you're swapping this rubber back onto the new window regulator, you just want to get a small screwdriver in here and you just kind of work it all the way off. And then the same in reverse when you put it back on again. And try not to damage it, but yeah, you are going to be reusing this weather seal. The new window regulator we are going to lay down. Making sure not to trap anything. Try and get everything all lined up where we want it to be. This wheel here, this is likely to pop out. If this pops out and unwinds, you're in a world of hurt. So I think this cable tie here is supposed to hold it all in place until we get it screwed down. So we'll be cutting this off in a minute. We've got the screws at the back to line up. One there, one there, one there. And then we've got these 2 brackets up front here, which we are going to line up as well. We'll put our marks on there to make it a little bit easier for ourselves. We've actually got a locator tab hidden under here as well, which will help align this piece. And one under this rail here. So that's got us in the right place. Just going to get the screws in and get them in and get them started off. These 3 T25s across the back, going nicely, and the middle one had a small P clip on it, holding one of these cables. So we're just going into plastic here, so don't wang them up too tight. Back onto the T30. So the blue wheel is held in underneath here, and it's held quite loosely actually by this cable tie. Get rid of him. There's a tab down here we want to go under first. He says, that's it. And then it'll come down under these 2 clips. And it won't be properly aligned until we put the motor on the back and actually screw it all in place. So I've actually set these tracks to the same position as the old one I took off. So the 3 holes here, so I've put it roughly in the same alignment. So we're going to reinstall the motor. The motor isn't a replacement part, so I've put a bit of grease on the front here and on the bearing. So if this did have anything to do with the squeak previously, that is going to be eliminated at the same time. So the regulator's on the back. I'm going to try and line this cog wheel up with the regulator in there, and the 4 bolt holes, 4 T25s. So I haven't felt the cog click into place yet, so don't put any undue pressure on it just yet. What we might need to do is move the regulator up and down just to get it to click in. So it might just be that the cog is misaligned. So that there now has slid in, so that's clearly worked. Setting the bolt up for when we put the window in shortly. So the window bolt, where I'll be on camera, has a shouldered portion, and that's obviously going to sit through the window later. This is the new regulator. This is going to be your mounting point when you put it in. This bolt, I've clearly got a gap here. This is where the window glass is going to sit into. I've wound this out, but it's still captive. So I can just put a socket through the door card and I can wind that through, but it's not getting in the way of the glass. So do this setup now before we put this back on the car, because that'll save time later. This cable runs along behind this cable, and the metal frame here. So it's running from your door handle there down to this handle. And the little T cable clips on the back of there, and then it's just like a push fit clip. Have a look at the back of the clip and you should understand how to do it. Hopefully you had a look at it when you took it off. So we're just going to lift this up now, align it with this bolt here, moving your wiring harness out the way at the bottom, and this should just sit on. So looking for this nice gap here. I just lifted this bit of metal frame back over, and that's that. Now we'll start reassemble. So we want all these bolt holes to line up nicely across the door card. And one of the things we've got is a little tab washer. Like I said when I took it off, I'm not really sure what it does or how it really works, but somebody's designed it in. So I'm going to put this back on first. A tab washer and a 10mm nut. That is that. T30s. Can't really go too wrong with these. What I can recommend is putting all your bolts in loosely and then coming back and tweaking them up later. So there's a metal bracket that comes up on this corner. And then two smaller screws that go in next to it. Still T30s though. Just going to reinstall the weather seal, and I'm tempted to put the glass in next, and I'll try it up and down before I put all the other screws in, because that to me just makes sense. So that's the glass in, and on the regulator itself we have two bolts which go through the track, and I believe it's these two here. So I'm also going to get these through and aligned as well. Right, we've got those two in there, so that holds the bottom of the track which runs up and down. We've got the window bolts in. We've got the top ones in, pinched up but not tight. I'm going to start connecting up our connectors now. That's the window motor, that's the door harness, and that's the speaker on. And then we'll give it a check that it runs up and down. Right, that's in its highest position. The bolts for the glass are set to the lowest position and furthest back position, and then we can work our way from there.
So I'm going to go 1/4 of an inch forward and about 1/4 of an inch up. So with the bolts slightly tweaked up inside, it's actually given me the ability to move the window glass while the door is open and windows up. So I've actually got about 6mm drop. It's a little bit tighter at the front here, but it's all nice and square at the back here when the door closes. So I'm quite happy with that. I'm going to drop the window down inside and I'm going to tweak those bolts up and then obviously recheck before I tighten everything up. I have checked and rechecked the window position. Minor adjustment, I literally just tapped on this top corner here at the front and that's down about 1/4 of an inch, and then the rear was already down about 1/4 of an inch. I've tweaked these 2 bolts up, remembering it's on glass, so you don't want them to be too tight, and this is a sign of me happy with where that position is. I'm going to go around now, I'm going to put these 11 bolts in. Just really watch what I'm doing. I'm going to put these 11 bolts in around the outside. 1, 2, 3, I'm not going to count them all the way around. And then we're going to go through reassembling the door card. I'm going to reconnect the electric wing mirrors and get him back in. I'm going to put back on the door handle. Should I put it on the right way around? And it rolls on from the bottom. Just like that, you've got all these clips on. With this piece, like I said before, there's a little pull plunger. You can get it out without taking that out, but you can't get it back in without pulling that one out. It just simply clips on. And that, my friend, is job done. Job done. Sits lovely up there. And then when we pop the door, we should get like a 1/4 of an inch drop across the top. That sits lovely up into the seals.